Hey everybody, it's Kathryn Perry, the Big Vision Coach, and I wanted to jump on to share with you something that just happened in a call with one of my clients, and it was so juicy to share it with you. And initially, I was going to be sharing this just with my 1111 Club members as a special bonus, which is why you see the banner there. But then I realized this is something I wanted the TOC Money Mindset Mastery members to really get a grip on this. And so this is impromptu. And I'm going to do my best to reconstruct what happened. And the reason I'm sharing with you is because very often when we are doing the one command, we are still kind of in that habit or that mindset, or even from coming from that emotional state, that there's this big world out there. There's all these things happening, and it's so big that we have to push our energy out there, or we might have to manipulate, or we're trying to control all these things. And then so we try to use whatever magic we have. Sometimes there's some magical thinking, and of course mindset is very important. You have to, unless you believe you could have it, you're never going to have it. Unless you believe it's possible, it will always be impossible. This is true always. But we sometimes have some trouble believing that things are possible for us, right? That certain things are available to us. And when we're going through the process of change, it can be uncomfortable, and there can be some negative emotions that show up. So we're going to talk about some of these things today. And so what I've titled this is Creative Tension and the One Command. And I'm going to show you these notes. I will publish the page, but I've got some key points here that I want to talk on, and then I want to share with you kind of the magic command that happened. And sometimes when I'm with clients, they pull things out of me. And I was working with a client who's actually quite advanced, I would say, in consciousness, a healer and teacher in her own right. And I love working with her because there's this other level that always seems to show up with her. And one thing that showed up was a really fun command. And I'll be sharing it with you. But right now, I mean, like what's happening with a lot of people is we're in this time, at the time of this recording, we're smack dab. We're actually probably in the pandemic. It's been, this is the end of November at the time of this recording. So we're on a year anniversary of the pandemic, and we are about 10 months into our experience here in the US with the pandemic. And so this is seemed to create this idea of all these forces outside of us that are greater than us, and yet we have to be able to pivot and change and take control of our situation. A lot of survival thinking is up right now. A lot of survival feeling is up. I mean, real concerns are up for people. And I happen to be very fortunate to have a close-knit family, and I was able to come be with my daughter initially during the lockdown because we didn't know what was going to happen. I live in an area where it's fairly economically stable. My living with my daughter, her house is paid off. We've got land around us. So I've got room to roam, right? And I have just a lot of resources that a lot of people don't. And I don't have a lot of the burden that a lot of people have on it, quite frankly. But this knocked my business, back a few steps too. I had this whole other plan. I was going to be taking my teaching out into the world. I had this, I had a lot that I had set up and had really been building myself up towards something. And then it all changed. And so a lot of times when we're in a period of change, it's uncomfortable. And when we're uncomfortable, we're very often a little grumpy, our emotions are up if there's a lot of uncertainty, right? And so sometimes we think, well, because something's bad, we've happened this way. But all my years of my personal experience of having had to move a lot, go through a lot of changes, life changes, and then watching people go through changes, like life changes, working in all my years in the apartment industry, I discovered all change is uncomfortable, even when it's initially for the good. I was sharing with my client today that when my journey kind of started, it started because of pain. And this is probably where a lot of people's journey started, was because of pain. And mine was this emotional pain that I didn't know how to deal with, how to get resolved. I just knew that there was something keeping me from living a happier life, and I couldn't figure out why I wasn't happy. On paper, everything looked pretty good. I had a lot of things better than most people, but I just wasn't happy. And I had this level of tension inside of me. And I had something inside of me that wanted to express, but I just could not get beyond my circumstances. And it built up so much that, I thought, oh, what I want is more money. As soon as I could work and earn enough money, then I could be free, right? So I got on that money track, and then I got on the work addiction track, and having the A-type personality and being a workaholic type, that was me, right? I joke about being queen of the world. And so that caused a lot of back problems from stress and all the hours at the computer and not getting to have a balanced life, right? And so here I was working until I literally couldn't, and I'm having to lay on the floor, do meetings because my back had gone out again. And finally, I wound up at a chiropractor's, and they started talking to me about some of the mind-body connection stuff that I kind of had an intuitive sense about, but really didn't understand how it all worked, which then put me on the track of self-discovery. And because I was in bed having to read all of these books all the time, I started learning about the power of the mind and focus and manifesting and law of attraction and our field of energy around us. And so because I was so trained and ingrained to work, my body had to go offline so that I could heal my mind and my emotions. And that was really the start of it. And one of the first things I manifested was at a time when I was literally working 3 jobs, living in a very cheap roach-infested apartment. And that's all I'm going to say about it. But the blessing of this place was that I was in a place that I could go for nice long walks, and there was room in the apartment because it was cheap, but it was bigger. I had room to stretch out, and I got into yoga, and I had a way to take care of myself in a natural, organic way. And because I couldn't, I decided not to have cable. I didn't have that distraction of television, and this is kind of pre-internet. So I got to just feed my mind with books, and I got to go on the walks and spend time and really get it baked in. I got to have deep thinking. And I have to say that right now, for a lot of people, they're missing this time of deep thinking. There's too many distractions, too many things pulling you, and wind up being in a reactive mode. And if you think about it, social media, television, everything's gotten turned into some form of advertising. And all advertising is find the pain point, push on the pain point, pinpoint the desire, stir up the desire, create the tension between the pain and the desire so that it looks like the only path is to buy the product. And so every single thing has gotten turned into an opportunity for monetization. And I can't think of a single sphere of life at this point that's not up for sale, right? That's not that you're not having to pay for that maybe you didn't have to before, right? So there's some good things that happened. I learned to be at peace wherever I was, which was so incredible. It took me off of that in order to be happy. I have to do stuff. I have to get stuff. I learned how to be happy. And this is a piece that a lot of people miss. And this brings me to my first point, that number one, what you desire already exists within you. If it didn't already exist, if it didn't exist out in consciousness, you wouldn't even want it. And the other part of that is, if you weren't able to achieve it, it wouldn't be in your sphere, because it wouldn't be a match for you energetically, emotionally. It wouldn't be a match for a skill set that you have the ability to create. And a way to think about this is, in Europe, we had a very rich culture. And then when all the discoveries were made in America, and they started bringing back a lot of the food from America, tobacco, it's hard to imagine tobacco being tasty and delicious, but it was quite an experience back in the day. And but then just the type of food and the animals, and there was just this rich abundance that they didn't even know existed. Right? They already had the taste and desire. They understood about opulence and wealth and all of this, but there was this whole other desire. But what did it match was not just, we could say there was greed, right? If we thought about this negatively, but there was something greater that spoke, and it was a chance to make their own mark. There was something, because the system was so entrenched in Europe. Hey, if you were born a cobbler, you're pretty much, the son of a cobbler. That's what you're going to be. And if you're a daughter of a cobbler, you're going to be marrying either another cobbler or somebody else in the trades that were complementary. You were at this one particular level. And there's this desire for something greater to express, to break free, right? But they had to learn to work within the current system. And so that's a super simplified way of thinking about it. And a historian will go, Kathryn, that's not 100% correct, but I think you understand metaphorically what I'm saying there. That all the richness in America, in the Americas, because that would include Canada and South America too, that all already existed. And then there was only the desire. There was a need to escape. There was other things that was happening. But sometimes it wasn't until they met the thing that they, you've heard the expression, hey, I didn't even know I wanted it until I saw it. I didn't even know this existed. I didn't know I could have it. And right now you're in that, you don't even, you have a sense of what you don't want, but there's this other part that you do know you want, but then there's that greater part that you didn't even know you wanted it until it became available to you. You didn't even know. So back to just my personal analogy, when I discovered, hypnosis and visualization and taking my brain into these different levels of brain waves, I really had this strong desire to live in a beautiful place. Here I'm working 3 jobs. I wanted my debt erased. I wanted to earn a certain level of income, and I wanted my life simplified because I wanted to live a life where I could enjoy art and beauty. I wanted to be able to take classes, and I already had this sense that I had some skills, I had some spiritual gifts, and I wanted to share it. And that first vision was always of me teaching a group somehow. And then it even evolved to where I just wanted this kind of group of people that I could be in relationship and be sharing. And a big part of my business has always been, let's get a group of people together and let's share some things. And sometimes there was 2 or 3 people, and sometimes I might have 50 people in a room, or be in front of 100 people that were, or 100 or 1,000 people that were kind of part of the same community, but there was this relationship, right? So I always had that sense of that. But that was the only thing. And I just knew that there was this moving forward and a big change. And when it happened so quickly. And what wound up happening for me was that my mother moved to Washington State. I was living in Dallas at the time, and a single mom. My mother and her husband moved to Washington State in a part that's probably closer to Oregon, and right between Spokane and Seattle. So about 3 hours equidistance from both cities. And my daughter had gone up to visit with her and to kind of help her move and, just help her with the office. And that's what we do in our family. We help each other get set up on things. And my daughter at the time, I think, was 14 and went up there. And I was working a job. And so came time to pick up my daughter. Well, I could have just put her on a plane, but I thought, I want to come up and look around. Mom's up there. Let's check out this state of Washington. So I took a week's vacation, and we had this couple of days where we got in the car and we kind of did this big loop of the state. And on the last day of this tour, we drove into Seattle, and Lauren and I looked at each other and said, wow, if we lived in Washington, it would be in Seattle. Our hearts, we had never seen any place like Seattle, Washington. It just lit us up, and we had this excitement, and something just turned on in us. And so that would be a cool dream, right? Oh yeah, I want to do that. How do I get there? I don't know how I moved to Seattle. Right. And it wasn't even a driving desire, like I need to go there. It was like, if this possibility existed for me, this is what I chose. If this possibility existed, this is what I choose. Make a note of that. If that possibility exists, this is what I choose. Okay. Because remember, if I come back to this idea, what you desire already exists within you. I just didn't have that thing in that environment, but there was this match that happened, right? And the situation I was in, I'd outgrown it. I'd met all my goals. I'd gotten out of debt. And so this is the other point I want to make, that just because your situation no longer serves you doesn't make it wrong. And the reason that this is important, and the main point I want to make, is very often when we feel this sense of change, it sometimes shows up as dissatisfaction, that it's not working. And so then we might initially go, what's wrong? Instead of thinking, hey, what's right? And how could I get more of what I want? Oh, you want me to say that again? We focus on what's wrong instead of, hey, what's right? And how can I get more of what's right for me? And that's what happened for me in Seattle. There was something already happening. There was this growth. Something was starting to kind of take, hold in me. And I was already allowing my mind to think of an idea greater of what my life had been up until then. And then when I met it, it was like, wow, yeah, I want that. But if I went back, I was like, oh, this is wrong. I hate it. I got to get out of here. Then my focus would have been on everything that's wrong. And then what happens to what we focus on? Right. It expands. So you have to focus on what's right and what you can make better. Okay. And so that's why doing the little practice of what we do in the 1111 Club is we take time in the morning to be creative. We're setting our intention for the day, what would make us, how we want to feel at the end of the day. And then at the end of the day, we take time, we do a little daily review, we count our blessings, and then we set our mind on what it is that we want our unconscious to work on. So it really, when I came back home, when I was on the flight, I wasn't like, gosh, how do I get me to Seattle? I was like, how do I get more beauty? Right? That would be so cool to live there. And I was in this place of open possibility, but there was no active planning at that point. So I get back home, and an interesting thing happens. On the same day that I found out, my brother-in-law, I'd parked my car over at my sister's house, and my brother-in-law decided to use the car that day because his car was low on gas. And mine still had gas in it, and he wanted to run the kids to school. And he wound up missing a turn at a light somehow, and totaled the car. And so you don't live in Dallas, Fort Worth without a car. It's not a, transportation easy place. So on the day I find out I have no vehicle, I get back to work, and I find out that the contract has been canceled that I was working on, and I had no job. So I come and I had borrowed money against my next paycheck in order to pay for my vacation. That's how close to the bone I was living. And my boss said, "Well, what are you going to do?" And I was just inspired. I just said, "I guess I'm moving to Seattle." And he said, how is that going to happen? And I said, "I don't know, but I think what's happening is I'm moving to Seattle." And it was just this decision. I spoke it. That was it. I let it go. And it was just, it felt inevitable. Okay. It felt inevitable. And yeah, I mean, there was still a lot to do, but I'd already had a sense that a move was coming, and I had been kind of preparing. And like a few months earlier, I told my daughter, I said, "Honey, I think we got a big major move happening. Let's start getting rid of some of our stuff that we don't need." And I went through and had done an inventory and had cleared out a bunch of stuff, and had already been playing kind of in my mind, what would another way be? But I had never had an experience like when I saw Seattle, and my heart went, "Wah." And so everything kind of started falling into place. And even my daughter was like, "How could you just decide that we're going to go there?" And I said, "I just know that's where we're supposed to be. It just feels right. When I look around everything, there's no place that gives me any energy. There's nothing else pulling me. I'm willing to look for another job, but I don't feel the energy." And so everything just started working together. Turned out my car was more valuable than I thought. I got a very nice settlement check. I was able to use that money to move. The money, I was able to buy another good used car, and then even bought some new work clothes. And within a week of landing up in my mother's apartment going, "What the hell did I just do?" I saw a little 2-line, I looked in the classified back in the days when we read the paper, 2-lined job ad, and it did one of these, like, I said, "Oh, that's my job." And when I talked to the people, I had the energy as if it were my job. And the guy said when I talked to him, he knew immediately within hearing the tone of my voice, the way I just said hello and my demeanor. And in fact, I was the most relaxed and making jokes and showing my kind of weird sense of humor. And we just hit it off, and it was a done deal. And it paid more than my 3 jobs that I'd been working put together. And it gave me a beautiful apartment in a very high-end luxury part of town, very desirable part of town. And I mean, it was just so fast. But here's the other piece that happened. It was so fast. It was so good. And it blew me away that it took me a while to unwind. I actually spent a year of being kind of miserable and crying. I know. And I'd be like, "Oh, beautiful, beautiful day. Wonderful. This is incredible." And being like, and I just had this deeply entrenched sadness and struggle that had been a part of me for so long that it started releasing and letting go. Now, this is very important because, just as I said, just because your situations no longer serves you, it doesn't make it wrong. And if we focus on what we're unhappy with, that's not going to get us closer to what we want. Well, then we need to understand that our emotions operate at different levels. Okay. There's the emotions we're conscious of, and then we have emotions that we're unconscious of. And then there's some that we've had for so long that at this like subconscious level that we've been running at a neurological level that we didn't even know we had this inner tension that was holding us in place, right? And it was like a spring on a watch that just broke loose, and all the chemicals that make that emotion is held at a cellular level. Okay. You just think about having sorrow baths every day, and some of that's going to stick, right? And it takes time for some of that to start to release and let go at a very deep physical level. Okay. And that's what was happening to me. This deep tension I had carried for all these years, and this unexpressed sadness that I just kept shoving back down because I was in survival mode needed to express. And because for the first time I wasn't in survival mode, I had time to actually look inward and process. Okay. So the best thing that I can tell you to do when we're dealing with our emotions, especially negative emotions, is this, and it's very counterintuitive. Very often we go, buck up, be strong, look on the sunny side, right? But it's a loop that's got to get completed. That we've got to get the information from it. And the best way we could do is to be present to it. And very often we don't have to do anything about our feeling. We just have to be present. So what does that mean? That means to shift your attention and to give yourself space and time to whatever you're feeling without trying to analyze it, to just let it be, to not try to fix it, to not try to adjust it, but let it kind of just run its course. Okay. Now, the best analogy I have for that, if you've ever had the pleasure of having a small child in your life, and especially maybe a little girl, and little girls have very strong feelings, sometimes the best thing you can do is just hold them and talk to them, and rub their back while they cry it out, right? And encourage them and be kind. And then just go, okay, yeah, this is rough. Of course, this is hard, right? We're just acknowledging, we're being present. We're not trying to shift their thinking. And then what I would do with my little girl would be, okay, you know what helps sometimes is if we put some cold water on our face. Would you like to do that? Yeah. Then I'm breaking the focus. Yeah, let's have some cold water. Let's have a little drink of water. That helps too, right? After all that crying. And then what do you need now? Does that help? Yes, no. Well, what do you need now? Can we just sit? Can we eat? Can we do whatever, right? So you're really like dealing with a small child. And so what you do is if you've got sadness, here's how you're present. Okay. If you have fear, if you have anxiety, if you have discomfort, notice how you are physically experiencing it. Notice how you are physically experiencing it. Is it tension, pressure, agitation, whatever it is, notice how. And so what you're doing is you're coming into the observer with yourself. That's actually what you're doing. So if I notice that I'm agitated, where do I feel the agitation in my body? It may feel like generally outside of my body, but how or where I'm feeling it, I'm just put your attention to it. If it's inside, if it's in my body, I notice it. Is it on my body or in my body? Just notice. And this is borrowed from NLP and submodalities shifting. Okay, that's what the scientific piece is on this. So if I notice I've got pressure, that there's this general sadness, then I look towards wherever it is. Now, this is really good with physical pain too. I look towards it and I just take a breath and I put my attention on it. I don't try to look up, away. I want to really bring my focus and my attention to where it is in my body. And breathe in. Now, one thing that helps to say, if you wanted to make a statement to yourself, is here I am and I'm safe here. Here I am and I am safe here. Here I am and I'm safe here. And then very often, if you'll notice, if you just pay attention to it, within 30 seconds to a minute, it's gone. Now, here's a little ninja trick. Okay. Set a timer. Set a timer for, if you say, I want to give myself 5 minutes to do this, you'll be surprised at how long 5 minutes is. I like to set a timer with my clients for anywhere from 1 to 3 minutes and no more. But I don't try to get them to calm it down. What I want them to do is to increase the feeling. But that's just a little side tip. Okay. So, but coming back here, being present, and then just checking in. What do I need? right? Just acknowledging, and maybe a glass of water, maybe wash my face, just something very simple. And splashing cold water on your face, cool water on your wrist, very calming and soothing, and it brings down anxiety very quickly. Okay, feelings of overwhelm, especially. So you want to be able to pay attention to it, not say, why do I feel this way? But acknowledge that you feel that way and find out what you need. And then go, well, what do I need here? Well, I need somebody to listen. I need time. I need rest. I just need a minute to get this processed. Okay, whatever it is you need, tune in and then do your best to provide it in that moment. It's something like, it doesn't even matter what it is. If I have, I need time to process this, then you would do a one command around that. And the one command would be, I don't know how I have the time to process this. And this gets you out of the story loop. This gets you into the presence loop. So whatever it is in a moment, whatever it is that you are telling yourself that you need, command for to happen. So I don't know how I have what I need. I don't know how I have the time I need. I don't know how the space I need. I don't know how I have the money I need. I don't know how I have the support I need. I don't know how I have the love I need. I don't know how to have the rest I need. Whatever it is, I only know I have what I need now. And I am fulfilled. And now, and then give yourself a moment to create that feeling. So sometimes we go, I don't know how to create that feeling. Well, that's why going up with, I don't know how, and try it right now. Do you need money? Do you need rest? Do you need time? Do you need support? What do you need? So now just roll your eyes up. I don't know how I have what I need. I don't know how I have the time I need. I don't know how I have the money I need. Whatever it is, I don't know how to have the support I need. Hey, I don't know how I have the idea I need. I only know I have everything I need now, and I am fulfilled. And what that does is that causes your neurology and your emotions to pause. We've made that statement. Now you're just going to come back in with the assumption that you have it. So if you were peaceful, if you had the time, you had the energy, what would it feel like? What would the emotion of that be? Okay, very important, because very often we're not giving ourselves time and space to create it and come into a new awareness. Now, we expect it to be like a waterfall, right? But sometimes it's just this one little pinpoint of light or just one little smidge of an idea. But if it's just one little smidge of idea, I don't know how I could put my attention to that. Put your attention to that one pinpoint, to that little smidge. Because as we put our attention to it, it expands and grows. It's magical. Okay. So I want to keep telling you about what happened. So learning to interpret your emotions, you have to be present to your emotions. You have to really learn to have these new conversations with yourself. Okay. Very often we're making ourselves wrong. We're complaining. We're apologizing for the way we feel. Until you learn to interpret your emotions, you're not really going to be able and really have empathy for yourself. You're not going to be able to use your power of empathy to be able to tune into the people that you want to help and serve. And this is powerful in business or in your interpersonal relationships. And you're not going to learn how to be who you want to be unless you learn how to listen to yourself first. Okay. So here's the other point. Please understand that it's before you now. Whatever it is that you desire is before you now. And it's happening now. Now, the reason this is really important is because we have this idea about linear time, and that as I get, as I work on this, then eventually I'll get to there. And of course, doing small actions, massive action, taking any action is always going to get you to your goal faster than inaction. But please understand that what you want or desire, just when you decided that you wanted it, it became a reality. It was created in consciousness instantly. And I have this idea about, hey, as I'm aligning to this thing that I want to create or manifest in my life, the thing I want to create or manifest is aligning to me. So I'm building into that this idea that, yeah, it's not this thing that's beyond me that I have to fight for or earn, like earning is not quite the right word. Like sometimes we do have to go through things to prove to ourselves our worthiness, right? It's not to prove to anyone else, but to prove to ourselves our worthiness to receive and have it, because we went through the effort and we broke through our own limiting beliefs. We broke through our bad habits. We broke through our fear, right? And because we make that effort, that proves our worthiness to us, but not to anyone else. We're the only ones we have to prove it to, okay? So sometimes there are things that we have to go through in order to expand our capacity and our belief in our worthiness. And our belief in our worthiness aligns exactly to our willingness, right? Worthiness and willingness are always in alignment. If they're a mismatch, it's not going to happen, okay? So what I mean by that is, yeah, of course, if you want to earn money, if you want to create money and wealth and abundance, if you want to create amazing relationships, but you're unwilling to change your behavior, if you're unwilling to examine your beliefs, if you're unwilling to open yourself up and being vulnerable, then you're not going to get what you want. So you've got to be willing to shift whatever's necessary for your growth, okay? And we all have those things. I still have my things, right? I meet them every day. But I do understand that if I meet something oppositional in my life, that it's the opportunity, it's the thing I must meet in order to have the bigger thing that I'm desiring. And so I've learned to welcome things that oppose me. But whatever it is that you want is before you. And in our unconscious mind, there is no later, there's only now. All time is now. And so the other piece is that you have to understand that everything is lining up to make it possible. Now, what could stop us from getting it, right? We go, oh man, I chickened out at the last second. I hung back, but I decided actually what I wanted was my family more, or I wanted something else more. But the minute you've decided you wanted something, everything starts lining up. Everything started lining up. With that move to Seattle, I had a really interesting experience. I started meeting people, and I thought, is Mount Rainier calling us? Because I've met all these new people, and I said, why are you here? And they said, oh, we just always wanted to live here. So had you ever been here before? No, we just wanted to be here. And this opportunity just kind of came out of the blue, and here we are. And that was almost like me. Everybody I was meeting told similar kind of miraculous stories, that this window kind of opened up and they just kind of jumped through it when the opportunity presented itself. If I wasn't internally aligned, no matter how lined up everything outside of me was, I wouldn't have made the jump. But I was already internally aligned. I said yes to the moment that when I saw something that I desired, I said yes to it immediately without trying to figure out how. And this is where a lot of people miss it. They don't say yes to the thing they desire when they see it. That's a writer downer. What are you saying yes, but, or not yet to, or not me, when you actually want it? And the reason this is important is we are not in the habit, Coming back to what we just did when we talked about being present to your emotions and telling the truth to yourself about what you really feel, what you really want, and what you really need. By learning how to give yourself space for that and honor that, then you'll have that honor, that inner alignment. You'll be in 100% integrity when the thing that you desire is presented before you and you say yes. The universe lines it up. When you see that it's a go, it's an easy jump. It's just the next natural step. I guarantee it. It's exactly how it happens. And so please, this is your mantra. It's before you, it's now, and everything's lining up to make it possible. So now I want to share with you what I did with my client. And she has a desire to live in a new place. She wants to move. She has some really big considerations and big factors that have to be included. If it were just her, it would be easy peasy. But she's got some big obligations and some things that have to be included to make this work for her in order for her to be happy. So what I taught her was this idea about creative tension and a lasso. And I learned this from, I have to be honest, I think I saw somebody describe it in a Reddit forum. They said, but this is a great visualization that connects you to where you are now and where you want to be. And it was to imagine that in your stomach. Now, he didn't understand. He was talking about the third chakra, which is the solar plexus, which is our will. Okay, our force, our energy. And this is us breaking out away from our tribe, and that moves us forward to that which we desire. That's the third chakra is our will. Okay, and so to imagine that there's this big lasso, or for him, I think he was describing a big rubber band, and then sending out before you this rubber band or this lasso of energy to the thing that you desire. And for us, it was, I think what we came up with was a duplex would actually be a nice fit in this particular area, and we just kind of talked about it. And suddenly I got the feeling, she got the feeling, and we said, yeah, that. If you found the right place, how would you know? And she was able to list the things that she needed and wanted, but also she connected to how it would feel when she was at her ideal home. She wasn't having the feeling of being at home. So we put that lasso between where she was now and her ideal home. Okay. And this happened in the mind's eye. Okay. And we made that connection. So right now, think about, you might not know exactly what it is, but you have a feeling about it. And for her, like we said, it was something vague, home. For you, it could be what's called financial security. It could be ideal business opportunity. It could be your love interest. No matter what that is, bring it down to a value word like home, security, joy. It's kind of indescribable, but it's the feeling that you have when you're there. It's the feeling that you have when you know that you have it, right? When you have the thing that you desire and everything's lined up to it. So we went ahead and we created that lasso. And so in that visualization, where she was now, where she wanted to be, she created this lasso. It was anchored on her third chakra is what I had her do. And then I had her send this lasso out, like a cowboy's lasso, out and catch the house that she wanted to live in. And she's like, oh my gosh, I feel it. And she's like, yeah, that's what I want. And in her mind's eye, it popped up. And then I had her pull the lasso into where there was this tension. And there's this moment. If you've ever been fishing or you've ever had to you picked up and, like drop some keys down a drain and you had to fish that line, the minute you get it, when it's on the hook, that feeling of when it's on the hook, when you got it, and that first little pull. And then it just started pulling. And then I don't know how. I have what I desire. I only know I have it now, right? And so we're just making one command statements. So some of the commands that we did, I've already explained to you. I don't know how, and then state what you want or need. I only know it's so now. That's the core one, right? And I am fulfilled is the rest of it. I don't know how I have or what I want or need. I only know I do now, or it is so now, and I am fulfilled, right? But then this little phrase came in on the command. I don't know how everything is lining up for me. 1, 2, 3. I only know that it is a reality. 3, 2, 1. Make it so now. Like, wow, like that just popped in. This is what I said. This is why I love working with you so much. I don't know how everything is lining up for me. 1, 2, 3. I only know that what I want, need, or desire, right? It is a reality now. I only know it is a reality. 3, 2, 1. Make it so now. And as I said, I just got the phone. I tried to make the notes so that I could break it up the steps, but this is basically how it came out. And so that was like this ignition sequence. Make it so now. And I am fulfilled is how we always end. And then whatever supporting commands, and then coming back in. And the result of this was that she felt a greater sense of peace about where she was. She felt more grateful. And then it felt like she had a better sense of the timeline. She's like, yeah, I came here with an intention, and I will leave once my intention is fulfilled. Isn't that wise? Isn't that wise? I came here with an intention. I will leave once that intention's fulfilled. And now this is a big piece that I teach in the 1111 Club, that whatever you're doing, be on purpose with it. Be intentional. So if today you got up and you had said, hey, I committed to doing this, right? I'm going to do this one small thing. And then if you don't do it, don't make an excuse. Say, you know what? I'm going to intentionally break my agreement and break my promise. And I'm going to do this instead. Today, if you want to goof off, don't waste your time on Facebook for 12 hours and try to pretend it's work and get into struggle. Just go, you know what? I'm going to goof off. I'm going to goof off for an hour. But whatever you're doing, be honest and be intentional. Okay. Then it's so much easier to trust yourself. And then when you really want to be intentional with anything else, it's going to be your natural way of doing it. So, okay, well, just like I was intentional in being lazy, now I can be intentional in working. It's so much easier because then you're always in integrity with yourself. Isn't that cool? And so it's a real mindset shift. But when you come back to these core ideas, that what you desire already exists within you. It's already inside you, and you are the universe. Okay. And right now, you don't know what part of you is going to grow. You don't know what ideas you have to let go of. You don't know what opportunities, like what synchronicity and serendipity is going to happen. You don't know who you're going to meet that makes that possible. Okay. But the minute that you start accepting that, yeah, if I desire, it exists, and that other piece is, unless it was possible, I wouldn't even want it. Unless it was possible, I wouldn't even want it. But then the other thing is to get out of that habit of dissatisfaction and unhappiness. That is the main thing that's going to keep you stuck rather than anything. Being unhappy in your relationship, being unhappy in your job situation, being unhappy with your housing situation, being mad at forces outside of you is not going to help you make the change. You have to look to what is better and then work on incrementally improving every day. That's what you focus on. So just because your situation no longer serves you, it doesn't make it wrong. So that's why that statement of, you have to think about wherever you are, it's fulfilling an intention, either consciously or unconsciously. I'm going to say that again, wherever you are, whatever situation you're in, it's fulfilling an intention consciously or unconsciously. the sooner you become conscious of what your intention is, then you can get it fulfilled. So she remembered why she made the choice, right? We're always making choices and we're always making the best one we think's available to us. And so by focusing on why you made the choice and what you're trying to get to, the intention, then when you align back to that intention, the way is going to be made to move you forward. But bitching and complaining and being happy or feeling sorry or regretful, not going to get it. If you could get what you wanted with those feelings, I would have been a multimillionaire at 25, and none of those things work, guys. Okay? By learning to be present to your emotions and listening and really giving yourself the space to tune into how you're feeling and what you need. And then you'll kind of start to, when you're doing that, that kind of takes that onus off of other people, and no one will ever fail you again because you'll be true to yourself. Okay. When you take that 100% responsibility and you start being kind to yourself and giving yourself the space, it's amazing. The world starts doing the same thing. And the people who are not doing that start naturally falling away. You never have to be in a fight with anyone ever again. It's so amazing. So the other thing is you want to make is your base of knowledge, your like a core operating system. Let's say that. Like, hey, a core belief, a big belief. We're just going to assume that this is true. Oh, a positive assumption. That's how I want to say it. That it's before you and it's now. So I want to do this. I want to, hey, I want to create $25,000 monthly income. Well, it's before me now. It's right before me. This desire is right here. The way to do it is right in front of me. I may not be aware of it. I may not quite have it figured out, but it is here, and I can trust myself to get it. Why? Because you're learning to interpret your emotions. You're learning to listen to your desire. You're learning to give space to your curiosity, right? And then just assume that everything's lining up to make it possible. Everything. And believe me, when I was moving up to Seattle, there was adversity and setbacks. Too many, just little different things happened, but none of it was big enough that it stopped me. It was just part of the journey, and miracles kind of happened along the way. With that lasso, that creative tension, you're making a conscious creation between where you are now and where you want to be. And you're establishing that energetic connection, right? And then with that tension, you're going to start naturally moving towards it to release the tension. And then the thing that you desire is going to start kind of feeling like it's pulled to you. So this is a really powerful visualization. And I'm going to make the this PowerPoint available in the Facebook group. You look over in the files, that's where it'll be. And then in the 1111 Club, it'll be on a link right below. But these are kind of sample commands. Like I said, I just kick these out. But just whatever it is that you meet, right? So if you need time, you need space, you need energy, you need clarity, you need, hey, do you need money? Whatever it is, you want to create it. It's all going to be created from your internal state of being first. Okay. So create the feeling that you need. Big letters on that. First, create the feeling you want, need, or desire. Then everything's going to come as a result of that. So I've told the story about manifesting $1,000 in under an hour because I said, I wonder what my state of being has to be. I wonder how I could create $1,000 from a state of being of appreciation. So then I started doing commands on appreciation and focusing on everything I appreciated. And a friend called me, and it was a long conversation, but basically it came down to, I said, are you trying to give me $1,000? She said, yes, please, let me give you $1,000. Why? I said, why do you want to give me the money? He said, because I appreciate you. I just appreciate who you've been in my life. And he couldn't stop saying appreciation. So that is a key piece. That's why these emotions are so important. They are so powerful. And that's what creates your resonance and your vibration. That's what starts shifting your environment around you. That's how you start attracting people who are drawn to that positive, loving energy. Okay. And the universe likes it. I was talking to someone in the circle the other day. If you didn't miss this, and we're going to be winding up in just a second, but he said he had manifested something really cool. And he said, yeah, I mean, it'd be nice if more of that happened, or it'd be cool. Like, that was a cool thing, but what I really wants this other thing. And I said, what you just did there is what's blocking you. Imagine giving a gift to your sweetheart, to your spouse. And she'd say, oh, I really love the flowers that you gave me. I mean, it would be nice. I mean, I love flowers. I mean, you used to give them all the time. And it'd be nice if you maybe sometimes thought about giving me some other things that you might notice I've needed or I dropped a hint for, right? How would you feel? Be like, oh, you'd feel failed, right? And you go like, I don't know. What did you really want? What am I missing, right? And that creates a negative tension. But if you were to say instead, oh, I love when you give me flowers. Thank you. I love when you think about me and surprise me with little things. I just feel so loved and appreciated when you do that. Thank you. Thank you for giving this to me today. Right? How more inclined would you to be thinking of other ways? Like, maybe you would buy flowers more often. How inclined would you be to go, like, maybe start paying attention to the little things that other person mentioned? Because why? That set up a delight. They enjoyed it, and you wanted to meet that. Well, the universe is kind of the same way. It's like, well, I mean, imagine if the universe said, well, I don't know. I mean, you wanted to command for a miracle, and I gave you a miracle, and then you were like, I mean, it's nice, thanks, but I wish I could have gotten that other miracle. And you go, I don't know if you really wanted that or not. And you don't seem to appreciate it much anyway, right? Or, do you like that? Oh, I'm so glad you like it. I mean, really? Would you like some more? That's that's the feeling. That's the relationship. That's the vibration we want to be with the universe. You like that? Oh, I'm so glad you like that. We're creating this delight meeting delight, right? Joy meeting joy. And that's what we're creating. And if you are down, if you're having a tough time, please know that this is, there's a phrase that I love from the Bible. It says, sorrow may last for the night, but joy cometh in the morning. And whatever you're going through, it is temporary. And on the other side, right now, it could be necessary. We don't know what greater good is going to arrive because of this, but please make the assumption that as a result of what you're going through now, this is making a way for something greater. Okay. And then you could even say, well, I don't even know how to shift my belief or to believe that there could be anything good in this. But we have to just keep moving back to that. I don't know what greater intention this serves in my life. I only know I'm going to be present to it. And not all of life is lovely and roses. I think that there's something to honor in the tough times. And I've gone through terrible loss and deep, deep sorrow. But I also know that some of my times of my greatest growth arrived from that. And that it wouldn't have happened any other way, even though I wish it could have happened another way. And so that's how I learned to make peace. And what I would want for you is peace that passes all understanding, and to trust that there is something greater at work in your life, and you have the power to connect into that. And I hope today has been helpful. If it has, please be sure and give me a little thumbs up or post your comments or questions. And then I always let people know, oh, this is about to close out. I've got a very short time. My computer's telling me it's shutting down. But if you want to work with me, all you have to do is you can send a message directly to me, or you can go to my Kathryn Perry.net, and that will get you right to me, and I have a comment box. So until next time, this is Kathryn Perry, the Big Vision Coach, and I was Your Mastery. Bye bye, everybody.